Now start.
Flash floods are sudden outbursts of water, and it happens when rain crosses a certain threshold limit, and it has varying causes. Some are because of pollution, some are because of heat, some are because of becoming clouds becoming heavy, and there are various devastation that can be seen through it. Like we have seen in the Uttarakhand flood, the major reason was the cloud burst, and the one thing which are erupting in this disaster management, which we can see is like other countries are also using some ionized weapons which can make the clouds heavy, and uh, our it can make the floods can happen. And what can be the possible solutions for it? We should have a resilient infrastructure for the floods, most probably for the urban floods. Second, for the sewer system, sewage system. And third, becoming the capacity building of masses. Fourth is the awareness. Fifth is the uh, prompt response from the civic societies, NGOs, civil administration, district administration, and the government organizations. And we have an example of Kerala flood as well, in which uh, the flash flood means flood above a certain threshold limit turns into an urban flood and creates other problems as well, and turns into the disaster. So how we can avoid these, how we can avoid these flash floods? Flash floods happen due to the pollutants like sulfur pollutants, unburned particles from the automobile exhaustions. So if we reduce these, there will be less chances of flash flood. Second, if we see the data, we are seeing the more flash floods after 2001, and our pollution level is also increasing after 2001. So I think these are the reasons.
Okay. So now you can start with your introduction and other
Uh,
educational detail and all the experiences of your life.
Myself, my name is Ashutosh Sharma. I born and brought up in a village town Mahavan of Mathura, Uttar Pradesh, and I done my schooling till 12th in Mathura only, and after that I have done my history honors undergrad from Dayal Singh College of University of Delhi. After that, I have prepared for UPSC and played a supportive role in my family business as well, which deals in farming, dairy farming, and making of organic and inorganic fertilizers and other miscellaneous contracts. So, and I am very much involved in the social services, and whatever issues with my possible capacities I can solve. And I have a little bit achievements as well, as I have participated in debates, quizzes, other games, and I have written one essay as well on. There is a one place in Mahavan village, Mahavan of Raskan Samadhi, in which I have written an essay on that, and that was chosen by the Fox History and Entertainment Channel of USA. uh, my hobbies includes cycling, running, gym, doing yoga, meditation, domestication of horses, domestication of cows, and feeding birds, planting trees, and other things, which I feel that I am doing not for myself but for the God.
Okay. So, how do you do, or what is the process of domestication of cow?
Uh, it's not a proper domestication for profit. For profiteering, I have uh, buffaloes, more than 60 buffaloes, and
No,
that are,
I was talking about how do you domesticate a cow?
so I am describing what's my objective in domesticating them. I am not objecting for domesticating them for the profiteering purposes. I have other ventures for that.
Okay, so you look after cows also.
Yes, sir. I manage my people. They look after the cows.
Okay. Okay. So, did you select any of the specialization that we have told you or have asked you on the course description? Like we give three specialization: disaster policy and action.
Yes, sir.
The second one is disaster and development. The third is technology for disaster management. So,
So,
which of these have you selected for your future or study specialization?
I have read all of the three, but I have chosen the disaster and technology because as technology is evolving day by day, now the disasters cannot be called only as a natural disaster, and they are man-made and they can be avoided by man.
Okay, so since you are history, you have graduated in history and also prepared for UPSC.
Yes.
So there is no much technical knowledge that you have in this course, or in this path that you have followed for your education and all. So how do you think that would be eligible or suitable candidate for this specialization?
The technologies which are being used by the people and affect the people's life are very much people are becoming used to them. Let's take the example of GPS, GIS, remote sensing, seismic wave activities, reading the data of IMD. Even a person who is a little bit literate, he can also understand this data.
So what do you mean by that one? Now you have to complete the answer.
Uh, Means I have read this all these technologies which I have came across during these days of preparation, and I would be linking them to the my course. For example, in Japan, when earthquake came, people were rescued according to the technological evolutions because Japan is so much technologically evolved. But from the psychological point of view, we have categorized that people have not leaving their homes because of their emotional bonding to them. I have read this in psychology, and I can relate it to the technology and make it more easier for implementing in disaster management.
Okay. So what are the key technology that we use in disaster management?
There are so many technologies which we are using, and they are being different for different disasters. First, for disasters which are on a larger level, which means hit a large number of population, like earthquake, floods, forest fires. We use remote sensing and GPS technology to find out the patches where the people can be displaced during the disaster. And there are some technologies which are used for predictions, like seismic activity predictions and data of Indian Meteorological Department for uh, knowing the air pressure, humidity pressure, and other things which can predict the upcoming of cyclones and other disasters. There are some technologies which are used in rescues as well. I'm taking the example of the simplest one, Facebook. In when Kerala flood come, people were tapping on the Facebook and saying that we are safe, and government was collecting that data and analyzing it to where people are being stuck.
Okay. So Asutosh, what are your future or career aspirations with this course? Because currently you are preparing for UPSC, and since this is
Uh,
only,
Now, sir, I have okay, come,
tell me what were you telling?
sir. Now I have taken a break because everyone wants to their career will be progressed a little bit, and I am taking this because it's a social science related subject, and it can provide me further employment opportunities as well. I can work in different state disaster management authorities, NDMAs, NGOs, and corporate as well.
Okay, so you will not be preparing again for UPSC.
I will be preparing, but after getting a decent job, so that I will be uh, a little bit protected and have a peace of mind.
Okay. So can you tell me that there are two things that we basically focus while talking about disaster? That one is adaptation and other one is mitigation. So can you differentiate, and can you also give some examples of both?
Adaptation and mitigation both are to reduce the effect of disaster, but their time being different. Adaptation is before disaster happen, and mitigation is after disaster. Adaptation means making ourselves prepared for the
So
disaster,
aren't you
like
taking it in reverse? Like mitigation is before the disaster happens and adaptation is after the disaster happens, or both can be treated before the disaster also? Because after the disaster, what we suffer only we can have is like manage that disaster. But before adaptation and mitigation, we the both of these we do before the disaster only.
we can do before the disaster as well, but adaptation is for the hazards of the disaster, and mitigation is mitigating the causes of the disaster. Like if we have a urban flood, let's make the sewer system more efficient. This is the uh, mitigation of the problem. Adaptation is making the resilient infrastructure so that even because of our preparedness, disaster hit, will be safe.
Okay. Give some other examples related to other disasters.
Uh, Forest fires, stampedes, uh, fires in commercial buildings, and I also categorize COVID as a disaster.
So how COVID is a disaster?
First of all, if we see from the legal point of view, government has categorized into the Disaster Management Act of 2005 that it is a disaster. Second thing, if we see from the its impact, it's impacting from social, mental, health, health, psychological, financial, from all aspects of what we why we would categorize something into disaster. So, and also it impact the according to the definition of disaster, that it disrupts the normal functioning of a community, and COVID is disrupting the normal functioning of a community.
Okay. Can you describe what is the government infrastructure right now that we have in order to deal with disaster?
Government infrastructure or sir, structure like
The
bodies,
current,
and
all the bodies and all the people and what we do for disaster.
we have a National Disaster Management Authority formed under the National Disaster Management Act, chaired by the Honorable Prime Minister of India and other 9 members. And we have a National Disaster Management Executive Committee as well, which is being uh, presided by the civil servants. We have a State Disaster Management Authority at the level of state, being presided by honorable chief ministers of that state and other 8 members. And at district level, we have Disaster Management Authority under district magistrates, and these this authority are the most I can say the big one, which involves NGOs, civil societies, gram panchayat sadas, pradhans, sarpanch, and even the block members. And we have National Disaster Management Institute as well. We have National Disaster Response Force. We have national other other laws as well, which deals with disaster in one or the other way, like Water Prevention and Control Act 1974, Air Pollution and Control Act 1981, and uh, Environment Protection Act 1986. And all of these provisions comes into the rescue whenever the disaster happens. For example, in Environment Act 1986, there is a provision when there is a disaster happen, a subsiding or supervising authority can use any of the buildings of during the disaster, and valid compensation will be given to him if the person it challenges it to the court.
Okay, can we link disaster management also with development, because the all the preparation that we do for the disaster, and basically it's again the point of the matter of probability that whether when we are getting the disaster and what kind of disaster. So all those effort that we do prior for to disaster, can we also have some development prospect with it, so that the utility of uh, disaster management processes that we are doing can be increased?
So disaster and development are interlinked. Disaster creates positive as well and negative as well. Negative as it destructs the whatever infrastructure we have built. And if we prepare from beginning that we should make resilient infrastructures and all. Now I am taking the example at how it can be positive as well. Suppose take the example, Delhi comes in the zone 3 of earthquake prone areas. And if we take the example of Purani Delhi, if some earthquake comes there, so and if it destructs the building, it is positive as well, because there are no other way out making them old buildings resilient infrastructures, and it cannot be built by a simple process. Even if government will try to do, we will facing us so much law and order problems. And now how according to the, if we see science, how development and disaster are linked. The more and more development is happening, the disasters are also happening, because more and more urban population growing, we are seeing more and more pollution, we are seeing more and more hazards related to the environment we are seeing.
Okay, Ashutosh, thank you very much. Hmm.
Thank
तो आशुतोष ये तुम्हारा अच्छा था. You seems to be seems prepared. Your last question था. I was not relating development with disaster. Of course, it is related, and of the specialization is also there. So I was thinking in a way that you could have told me that all the disaster based or social preparedness that we do can also be can also help us in bringing equality among people and getting that kind of social infrastructure which basically removes many of the social issues also, and it can also skill people for many other job while we do the training part to the people, or we create some adaptable infrastructure or to mitigate the disaster effect. So also disaster doesn't see people with their caste or with their income or anything. So while preparing, we can put forward the idea of equality among people also. So all those things that we do in order to adapt or mitigate the disaster, we can talk in this way that we can also have an agenda to achieve those objectives also.
giving social touch to the
Uh,
course.
uh,
Okay.
and it will also increase the utility of disaster management preparation. So many of the time that we don't want to spend money on it because the government has many other priority to take care of first. So anything which is not there right now, which is not in front of us, preparing for that or spending money for that is very that looks very difficult for people, for government. So if we'll add some uh, other utilities to it, then it will be very beneficial, or even government will find utility in spending money or improvising or making disaster management capability stronger. Okay.
Yes, sir.
तो और कुछ कहना है तुम लोगों को?